welcome back to this marathon of incredible, juicy awesomeness from all of the authors of the Law of Brand Attraction 2. I am very excited about our next guest in this hot seat. She is the Sexual Empowerment Liberator. And I know that you are going to be liberated by the end of this interview. Let me tell you a few things about this incredible woman that you're just about to spend the next 13 to 14 minutes of your life with. Let me dig in. So Lorraine is an international speaker. She's a best-selling author. Again, here. She's the CEO of Shelki and creator of Sexual Empowerment Mastery, the world's most empowering sexual energy program, giving voice, visibility, and connection to sexual energy. A qualified practitioner in multiple holistic and healing practices, Lorraine is best known as the Sexual Empowerment Liberator. A much sought after expert in her field, Lorraine has liberated thousands of people, and I know some of them, to connect to their sexual energy and celebrate who they are, profoundly changing their life. She's transformed the lives of people struggling with poor mental health, challenging relationships, body trauma, abuse, medical conditions, and sexuality. And now she's inspiring a global movement to give millions of people around the world a voice, standing in their truth and celebrating their sexual energy. Let's welcome to this incredible stage, Miss Lorraine Crookes is in the house. Hey, Lorraine.
Gosh, I sound good, don't I?
You do. Wow, you're bloody awesome. And I love that you bring your whole self into every conversation that you have, whether you're on stage, whether you are supporting our Visionary Hub members and brand builders. You're going to be speaking at Ripple Fest in a few weeks, and now you're publishing a book. Like, is there anything that you aren't doing right now? You're creating a program. Like, you've got it all going on. Why do you do it, Lorraine? Why? What's your vision? What's your mission behind what you're doing? There must be something that's driving you.
It's the voice, visibility, and connection to sexual energy. It's uncovering the taboos about that thing that we don't talk about, and just empowering people to have those conversations, because it impacts on every area of our life.
It does. It does. And I mean, I've watched you literally transform some of the lives of people that I know. And that's just in the last couple of months. Just as you say, giving that the voice, giving the power back to their voice. And there's so many people in the world right now that are living a smaller life, and in fact, growing a smaller business and a smaller tribe, because they're not living in their true energy and their vibe. Like, what would you say to those people now? Obviously, they're going to be reading your book, and you've got your great chapter, your chapter 23 in the Law of Brand Attraction 2. But if they haven't read the book yet, what are some of the things that you would suggest to our viewers and listeners about what they could be doing to liberate their voice? How, if they're not feeling as empowered as they could be, what would you suggest that they do? What's their first steps?
I think it's practicing having a voice. You know, we're in many areas of our life, and particularly the area I work with intimacy, we don't have conversations that maybe we should be having with the people we should be having with. And I think that echoes into our business quite often as well. If we aren't able to communicate in certain areas of our life, then it's going to show up in other places. If we don't have boundaries in certain areas of our life, it's going to show up in areas of our life. So I think it's just about having a look across everything we do in life and seeing where there's consistencies and inconsistencies, and where we're showing up and being our true authentic self.
You have experience of this, don't you? I loved your chapter. I like, yes, guys and girls, I've read Lorraine's chapter. You got to go download your Kindle, otherwise you're not going to get to read it. Now, you talk very openly and honestly about you sitting on your step and looking at the stars, and you had this calling inside of you, and you weren't living in authenticity with who you actually are. And so you've got this life that you're living, and you've got this life that you want to live, and maybe a business that you want to create, or a movement inside of you. And, you know, maybe you, like Lorraine, are feeling that calling to do something greater, and maybe just haven't been brave enough to step into that true version of who you are. Lorraine, you give a great system in your chapter, and that's what I love about the Law of Brand Attraction 2, is each and every author has unpacked a system or a blueprint or a process with tools and strategies that every single person that reads the book can walk away with there and then. And I love your first question in your system, your first question is explore what you love. Are you doing what you love? What was it that you were doing that you didn't love? What was it that was holding you back? Or why did you feel that you couldn't own your voice back then?
I think I was living the life I thought everyone else thought I should be living for whatever reason. So we all, you know, there's millions and millions and millions and millions of jobs, but somehow we end up doing the one we end up doing, and it's a job. You know, and I think there's so many areas of our life that we don't have a voice because we don't think anyone's interested in what we've got to say. And actually not speaking and holding all of that inside of us makes us physically ill, which, as you know from my story, is exactly what happened to me. I became so ill, I needed to make some decisions, and some really big decisions in how I was going to move forward in life, because I felt like my voice had been taken away from me. And if we're not connecting to who we are, if we're not living in the life we really want to live, why are we here? Like, what are we doing? We're just kind of literally showing up every day, just existing. We're not living in our heart energy, which is the most powerful energy to live in, because we're just going through a process of doing.
Yeah, doing rather than being. And that's easy to do, isn't it? When you're building a brand and you're building a business and you're stepping up and you're really starting to own who you are and what you love doing. And there's always that next level that we can go to. So what was it that didn't make it to the book? Because I know that you've got so many stories, and very interesting stories as well. You've definitely lived a very interesting life. But there were some things that didn't make it to the book. Like, give us some little juicy insights about, like, what was it? What were you thinking? You know, you're supporting these visionary business owners to really own themselves and own their identity so they can own their lane. And of course, your chapter is in the Own Your Lane segment. When you were thinking about writing the book, what didn't make it in? Give us a little sneaky peek.
I think one of the big things that kept coming up for me when I was writing it, that kind of is in there but not necessarily written, is stop pretending to be someone else. Where we can only be who we are, and so often in business we're trying to rock up, be what everyone else wants us to be, but actually if we're not in our heart, people are going to see through that anyway. And so I think it's just be you, because actually then you're going to attract the people that you really connect with, to work with. You're really shut up. Just don't try and be somebody else. If you want to make an impact standing and being empowered, love my word, being empowered in you, who you are. Not what everyone else thinks you should be doing, not showing up as you think you should be, showing up as who you are. I think that's probably the key bit, particularly for business, because I've learned that even as a teacher, I learned that you can't, why are we all pretending to be? And I think in business, we want to be seen on the surface to portray something, and people do see through it. And if you want to sell and you want to change lives, you can only change lives and impact on others if you're standing in your own true essence.
Yeah, very true. So for someone who's sitting, watching or listening to this interview now that thinks, well, you know, I have that calling and I know that I'm not living the life that I could be, but it's easier said than done. You know, I mean, I meet a lot of people who have that calling in their heart and they stay small because they don't want to rock the boat with everybody else around them. And so they stay who they think other people want them to be, just as you talk about in your story. And they don't ever ignite that light. How can we, Lorraine, and because I know you work with a lot of people to do this, how can we stop people pleasing and be ourselves without rocking the boat with everybody around us? I know that's a massive question, but you know, what are the steps? What are the first steps, at least, to overcoming that fear of, if we change, will people reject us?
And I think sometimes people might reject us, but actually if we're standing in our truth and we do have a voice, then what actually happens is the people around us either change in their different people. But actually what I've learned is all the fear I lived in for over 20 years about something I couldn't talk about, when I actually spoke about it, no one really, really looked at me and was like, you know, we can't know you anymore. We can't. Actually, what people said was, well done. I'd love to do what you've done. I'd love to stand in my own power. I'd love to have a voice about everything that's important to me. And actually what you find is you then actually influence other people. Sometimes you have to do it as a gradual process. It depends what it is. But just start, as a phrase that you use, Sammy, just start opening your mouth and talking to people and just sharing a bit. Just test the water. Yeah. You know, I can remember living in so much fear about what people would think of me if I told people the truth about who I was. And actually, I created that. It wasn't real. I created that story. I created that in my head because of all the social conditioning and all the other things that happen in the big wide world. But actually, it was nowhere near. I'm not going to say there weren't difficulties, there were, but there was nowhere near what I thought it was going to be. Nowhere near. And actually, now what I do is give people.
That you created that reality because you were in so much fear. It was like the energy of it was creating the external. But when you started to own it, that energy created the external instead. I mean, it sounds so obvious, doesn't it? Like what you think is what you become is how other people treat you.
We attract what we put out, don't we? We attract what we put out. So if I'm living in fear, the life I was leading wasn't a healthy one because I was living in fear.
Right.
But now I'm living in joy and empowerment and just, there's just too many words, all of the good words. But it's just like, that's what I attract. I don't have to be anyone else but me. And it's just, there's a freedom, there's an empowerment, there's all those words of just, and I can help people in my truth.
Yeah.
You know, I was helping people before, but nowhere near like I am now because I trusted in myself. I trusted in my intuition. I trusted in the universe. And I was like, what have I got to lose? Nothing, because I can't be in a place any worse than I am now. That was how I felt.
Wow.
So it's like, well, it's one of two ways. One of two ways. So I gave up my career and pursued it.
You literally gave everything up, didn't you? You walked away from pretty much everything that you knew before, like kept your family. But, you know, even with your family, there's been a transition, hasn't there? Yeah. But what I love is you just still owned it. And you were like, look, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. If I'm going to stand up for my truth, if I'm going to support others to stand in their truth, then I have to stand in mine. And you've got that. You really hold your shape, don't you, with your integrity. And that's a key thing about your brand and how you've been able to attract people to your brand is just be who you are. Wow.
Completely.
And it is a liberating place to be.
And changes lives. I've changed mine and now I get to change everyone else's, which, you know, for anyone that's doing business, to be able to have that impact because you own who you are and you have a voice and you trust yourself. And I think that's a lot of it, is trusting yourself. I trust myself 100%. Where it will go, it will go. But every day I do what is in my heart and it works.
Amazing. Lorraine, what happens when it's not working? You know, but when it's not working, what do you do? How do you get through that? Because I know you love nature. Is that your way to go and shake it off, is to get out in nature? You know, like, how could other people do that? How can they shake off that feeling of, oh, but what if the little me, when the little I starts to sneak in?
Yeah, I mean, definitely nature, meditating, breath work, all the stuff that 20 years ago I'd have gone, what? No, I'm never doing that. I was a secondary school, don't do things like that. Meditating, that's just for fluffy people. Meditating, being with me, getting to know me in quiet time, not running around doing all the time, being with nature, making time for myself, self-care, have a nice bubble bath, like just being with me, because actually, and I know you've said this, that's when the best ideas come anyway. So why run around trying to make an idea when you can be and create an idea? Because you don't need to be in that energy all the time. Breathing. No one breathes. Everyone needs to breathe.
No wonder everyone's still alive, isn't it, really?
Just practice breathing. Get in your body and feel yourself breathing and realise how amazing you are every day just breathing and existing in a physical body. We're just too busy. It doesn't need to be like that.
Oh, it's so true. So true. Lorraine, you're always such a pleasure and a joy to spend time with. And I mean, what an amazing, like, deep dive in this 15-minute session. What we've crammed into 15 minutes is enormous. Is there anything that you would like to leave as if you could leave them with anything, what would you say?
Do it. Just do it. What have you got to lose?
Just do it.
You got one life, one chance. Go and live it.
Amazing.
Being empowered.
Yes, yes, yes. Do it, do it, do it. Guys and girls, you've heard me say it before. I'm going to keep saying it. Go and download the lawofbrandattraction.com. Go to that website, download it, share the website everywhere. Let people know that there is a way that they can be empowered, that they can own their voice, and they can get out there and be building that movement that they have in their heart. And, you know, just by sharing it, you never know who is watching that will reach out to you and say, I needed that. Thank you for sharing. So, guys and girls, hang fire. Go maybe grab yourself a cup of tea. Come back. We're going to be back with our next incredible author. I'm very, very excited that we are coming towards the end of this massive sprint that we've done today. But keep staying tuned. We will see you shortly. Thanks, Lorraine. See you soon.
Bye.